promoter was having, he was not giving more fight.
Obviously, he's talking about Eddie Hearn.
And it was so hard to find opponent. And the new team, I have MTK behind me, MTK behind me, MTK behind me.
So basically, he's left Matchroom for MTK. So it's safe to say we'll see him on Sky, whether he's independent from Cali or Shalom, and he alternates between the two. It's a safe bet that we'll see him on Sky. MTK strike again. Another Matchroom fighter gone. Eddie's got a plethora of heavyweights there. So as far as he's concerned, it's dead weight. But I thought Martin was a good fighter. It doesn't look like he's gone the Josh Kelly, Nathan Gorman, Eubank route and signed with either Boxer or Cali, because he's fighting in Dubai on a card promoted by Aaron Bickerstaff, Core Sports. Never heard of him. So maybe Billy and Martin have worked out a deal where they don't commit to any promoter, and MTK will just get them the best deal, the best fight, wherever it happens to be. Perhaps. But Eddie let the cat out the bag about Daniel Kinahan working exclusively with Sky, and although Sky have denied it, we can see how the transfer window, if you want to call it, has been all about MTK managed boxers, whether they've been released or split with Matchroom or BT, ending up on Sky. Maybe they're finalizing a deal with Martin and Wasserman, or maybe Martin and Boxer, Double X. Maybe that's what they're doing. Maybe the fight in Dubai is just a stay busy fight. I mean, he's only had the one fight since November 2019, and that was a Sergei Kuzmin fight in December of last year. BAKOLE also has been sparring with USYK in preparation for his challenge for Joshua's 3 belts. And he said unless he's hiding his punching power, he said Joshua has a lot more power. He said cruiserweight power different to heavyweight power. And he sparred many rounds with both men, so he would know. Here's what I said in yesterday's edition before the Billy Joe Saunders interview came out. Hours before. I'm going to dust off my crystal ball. It's a long shot, but with Billy Joe Saunders being MTK managed and worshipping the ground that Daniel Kinahan walks on, he might be heading over to Sky. Hours later.
So say a fight does materialise and your team and your family and yourself are all happy with it. Are you contracted anywhere? Are you a free agent? What is the situation, Bill? Can you say?
Well, I'm contracted obviously to the zone, but I go by experience and how people treat me. And if I was going to have a fight, I would love it to be on Sky.
Now, in all truth, it didn't look like Eddie and Billy's relationship was going to last beyond the Canelo defeat, in all truth. But you can't tell me Daniel Kinahan isn't recruiting for Sky. You can't tell me he's not. So the first Bridgerweight title fight is a week away, about a week away. By the time I release this video, could be even less. Now, the press conference that's on Fight Hype was always going to be a hard sell, wasn't it? Only 703 views. Rivas doesn't speak English or barely speaks any. Bryant Jennings is a good talker, is coherent, articulate, but he's not a crash and bang Derek Chisora throw tables across the room type of guy. He hasn't got a can man mouth or anything like that. Then you got the Bridgerweight fight, which perhaps a lot of people are not sold on. Then they had Jose Suleiman talking in there. So, I mean, by the time the fight's approaching the ring, all the hardcores will be trying to get their illegal streams or watch it however they're going to watch it, legally or illegally. It's taking place in Canada, so it might do some numbers over there. Bryant Jennings has been so inactive. Since August of 2018, he's had 2 fights. The loss to Oscar Rivas and the loss to Joe Joyce. So he goes into a world title fight with 2 losses back to back. Hasn't fought since 2019, inactive for nearly 2 years. Oscar Rivas himself, he's only had 2 fights since 2018 when he beat Bryant the first time around. The loss to Dillian White and then a stoppage over also ran. These are the 2 combatants that Jose and his flunkies, that's a more apt use of the word flunkies than we've seen recently. You add that to the fact that people didn't want the extra weight class, and it's a hard sell, And then you've got the other flag, red flag, that we've seen this fight already. Oscar Rivas won by a 12th round TKO. And the whole thing about rematches in modern day boxing, and while they're not enthusiastically welcomed, is because of the infrequency that fighters fight at. Brian Jennings was talking about, if they're going to make this Bridgerweight division work, you're going to have to get the contenders fighting regularly, challenging each other, and bringing attention to the division. I didn't hear everything he said, but paraphrasing, that was the gist of it. But yeah, the first fight wasn't a bad fight, but it took 3 years to get here. And the circumstances that it's got here, nobody really wants the weight class, they've both been inactive, is why people don't clamour for rematches these days. They want to see the guy who won fight somebody new. They want to see a different fight rather than the same fight. But if the rematches were to materialise close to when the first fight happened, they'd be received much better. Like they've just announced Chisora and Parker on a new DAZN schedule, and that's a rematch obviously. And it's scheduled for December in the UK. If they had announced the rematch after the controversial decision, if they had announced it shortly after that, there would have been a big buzz about that rematch. But what is it? 9 months later, you're announcing the rematch? You got to build all that momentum again. And let's stay with Parker and Chisora. The first fight happened in January, and we already know we're probably only going to see Parker and Chisora fight one more time for the year. So to keep either man relevant, the next opponent choice is going to be scrutinised, because we're only going to see you one more time. There was a 7-month gap between Dillian's first fight with Povetkin and the rematch. 7 months is acceptable, and it would have been sooner if Povetkin didn't get struck by the COVID. Then you've got the third fight with Wilder and Fury. Apparently the ticket sales ain't going too well. Fury won so decisively last time out. Then you had the dragged out arbitration, which killed the undisputed fight between Fury and AJ. And unless you're an extreme Wilder fan, this fight is not jumping off. It's just not jumping off like that. People want to see Fury and Wilder fight other people. This 3-fight series has dragged out long enough now, around 3 years. 3 fights in 3 years is not bad, but one of you needed to challenge AJ for undisputed by now. One of you needed to have fought Dillian, and neither has happened. Now, Regis Prograis is frustrated that DAZN would not bankroll his potential fight against Mikey Garcia. Instead, we're getting Mikey Garcia against Sandor Martin, somebody I've never heard of, somebody most of you haven't heard of. He's going to be fighting Sandor Martin October the 16th in some minor league baseball stadium in Fresno, California. Progress said it is what it is. Mikey has a name, and I guess that's what he's going to do. Progress wants to know what the numbers are looking like for him to fight somebody like Sandor Martin. He said he's not going to lie. He feels it's not fair. He said, I had a bunch of hard fights coming up, and then somebody like that could just fight a person nobody's ever heard of. He said he doesn't know the numbers, but he's pretty sure Mikey's going to get paid something good to fight a nobody. He said, to me, it's not fair, but hey, what can you do about it? That's why he's chilling in Colombia now with his wife. He needs to get a break from all the training he's been doing. And look, you've got to start getting it right, DAZN. Yeah, you've got to start getting it right. Because from what we're hearing is you're cutting back on your budgets to make the fights, but yet you paid Mikey Garcia last year, early last year I believe, $7 million to fight Jesse Vargas. But yet you can't get a budget to pay Regis Prograis and Mikey. So either get the people in who know what the fuck they're doing, or I don't really know what to say. Like you can say, okay, Mikey needs a tune-up, but Regis hasn't been active either. And maybe Mikey just didn't want to fight, to be honest with you, and he knows he can squeeze the zone for a few million, or whatever they're paying him, to fight some nobody. You see, paying Mikey Garcia $7 million to fight Vargas, you've set a threshold for Mikey. So he probably wanted the same to fight Prograis. But it's probably not a $7 million fight. You overpaid him for the Vargas fight, and now he's styling and stunting on everybody over at DAZN. Like Regis said, if you pay him $7 million to fight Jesse Vargas, he's not going to fight Prograis for $3 or $2 million, is he? Now, listen, I can't blame him. Can't knock the hustle. You know, whoever you work for, let's say they've just put your wages in the bank. You check your account and you got $5 million in there, and they're wondering why you haven't come in this morning to lift up heavy boxes in the freezing flipping cold. And let's not get it confused or misconstrued in any type of way. Inactivity for Mikey Garcia is not the same as inactivity from fighters who just couldn't get fights back in the day and maybe had to supplement whatever purses they were earning with regular jobs. Mikey's job is to train and get fit and go in there and fight. He doesn't have to do anything else. He's one of them fighters today who's always talking about CBD oil. Go take your CBD oil, train and fight. And fight someone good like PROGRAIS. A lot of skeptics were talking about DAZN increasing the subscription price before releasing a schedule for the rest of this year. And their logic makes sense. It does make sense. I think their biggest strength right now is their consistency. There seems to be a card on every week. And that's why a lot of boxing fans are not going to unsubscribe. Now, a lot of the shows may not be up to a high standard. Some better than others, some worse than others. But it's consistent. I'm not going to shine a crystal ball on this because there's a few factors that have to be put in place for it to become a reality. But amateur boxing could become a more attractive, viable option for those who follow pro boxing and are not satisfied with the product currently. Like Lou DiBella was nearly in tears in his swimming pool when he was talking about his sport and what's happened to it over there with Holyfield, Belfort, Oscar trying to come back, catching COVID, and YouTubers, TikTokers, hip-hoppers, improper. This ain't a freestyle session. Let's go. Everything else. We spoke about it all before. Now, amateur boxing is receiving a lot more commercial sponsorship. The WSB, they get paid already, but the AIBA World Championship medalists, they're about to earn prize money. The winner will get 100 grand, silver 50 grand, bronze 25 grand. This all provides athletes a fair chance to earn a living. And you will find there are a lot of amateurs who don't want to turn pro. They don't want to talk to these promoters because pro boxing is what it is. You know what I mean? It is what it is. All the politics. Imagine Regis PROGRAIS can't get a fight. That doesn't happen in amateur boxing. A talent like that. Anyway, November the 5th and 6th, Belgrade, Serbia is where the next AIBA Men's World Boxing Championships will take place. Now, if they start incentivizing the ABAs, the Euros, incentivizing it with cash, a lot of people might just switch over and say, you know, I'd rather watch this. Like I say, a lot of factors have to be put in place for that to happen. They would definitely have to make certain safeguards. With all the commercial sponsorship going into it, potential corruption looms around the corner. And a lot of still happens in amateur boxing and amateur sport. It's just not as mucky as pro sport. We ain't got no interim AIBA world champions and like that and regular champions. No, you've got to win your regional, then go in whatever tournament makes you best in the country, win that, then they put you in the tournament and you fight the best from the best from the best, and if you lose, you lose, and if you win, you win. I want to big up Lennox, one of my Twitter friends. Let's talk about this Pan-African solidarity that is so important to Deontay Wilder. Let's talk about Wilder and Joshua. Let's look at 258 management. Let's look at it. Yes, they have Campbell Hatton, big up Campbell. But they also have Ramla Ali, a Somalian boxer, a female. They also have Joshua Boatsi, Ghanaian. They also have Lawrence Akoli, you know, WBO cruiserweight champion. Born in England, but from a Nigerian family, like AJ. They also have Derek Chisora, Zimbabwe. He also put his cousin on, Benga. He put his cousin on Benga. Around the same time he turned pro, Benga was fighting on Matchroom cards with Anthony Joshua's cosign. And then when he injured his eye and was forced to retire, he's been an integral part of Team AJ. They also have Souleymane Sissoko from Senegal, 14-0. They also have him. Now, I don't think none of that was by accident. I really don't. How much African-American brothers does Wilder have on his management company? Oh, he doesn't have one. But it is what it is, you know? You know what I mean? I guess till this day is more powerful than actually putting people on, allowing them to pursue their career and giving them jobs. I guess that's more important, isn't it? Action speaks louder at all times.
Sing, bring it. Source money ripping the raw shit, giving them more shit while your niggas on some CB4 shit.
I'm black, y'all, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm blacker than black, and I'm black, y'all.
What about the Gypsy Warrior? Who's he put on? Oh, he don't have a management company for the Travelers either, does he? Nah, nothing at all. I've seen Isaac Lowe on a few of his cards, but he's MTK, isn't he? Isaac is MTK. MTK do a lot for the Travelers. Can't say Fury does anything really, except talk. I mean, his brother, Tommy, if it is his brother, he fights some Frank Warren cards. Fury fights some Top Rank cards. How comes he can't get a co-sign to Bob Arum to sign up Tommy so he can get that Jake Paul fight? Bigger purses as well if he was fighting on Top Rank cards. Okay, so Alexander Usyk's manager, Sergei Lapin, has said that neither Vitaly or Vladimir Klitschko has reached out to Alexander Usyk, the countryman, as he approaches the fight of his career. Now, Usyk is going to challenge Joshua for all 3 straps, but they're saying they haven't had no advice from the Klitschko brothers, our fellow Ukrainians. We haven't seen them in our training camp even once. Alexander has his own story and he's been writing it for a long time. That's what they're saying there. He does not need anyone else. Now, Klitschko, what should I say, Usyk was signed to K2 Promotions, which was the Klitschko's baby, I believe. He was signed with them from 2013 when he turned pro. Now, he's been hinting from last December he may leave K2 Promotions. Bob Arum, he expressed an interest in Usyk. Now, his other manager, Alexander Krasuk, he spoke about his situation with K2 Promotions, that there was a clause in his contract with K2 that he could leave after 3 years if he was not put into a world championship fight by then. Of course, he beat Krzysztof Glaszczak by 2016, so Usyk couldn't trigger that clause. But the 7-year mark is up, and they're saying he's in a position to listen to offers from elsewhere. Their position was, if I stay, it will be K2 Promotions. If not, it will be Usyk 17 Promotions. It depends what deal he gets from K2. And this could be why the Klitschkos are not being more vocal about their support for Usyk in the upcoming bout against Joshua. Added to that, Vlad is a mentor to AJ, so that might be a little awkward for Vlad, not so much Vitaly. But I think Vitaly was more hands-on at K2, so I think the K2 situation is more than likely the reason the Klitschkos are giving Usyk the cold shoulder. The 3-year contract for him to win the title, that's why they fast-tracked him, obviously. So Usyk, it looks like he's got a few managers there. He's got this Sergei Lapin dude, who they mentioned earlier, and Alexander Krasuk. I've never trusted Krasuk. He actually used to be part of the K2 promotion setup. But it looks like he could have broke away, separated Usyk from K2 when the contract ran out. And now he's done this big deal with Anthony Joshua, which is the payoff, which is what a promotional outfit like K2 would have been waiting for since they've had Usyk since 2013. But it looks like Krasuk and Usyk as well have cut them out. No wonder they're pissed. Maybe Vlad is giving AJ some tips on how to beat Usyk. A little payback.
The danger point is getting fair play out there. At the minute, the American boxing fraternity has been embarrassed from last escapade. Why wouldn't you take $20 million step aside without fighting and a guaranteed shot at the winner when you're fighting for a lot less money than $20 million and you're risking getting your skull caved in again?
You see, this is the figure that we first heard. Tyson Fury said that Wilder wanted $20 million to step aside so he could face AJ. Now there's stories that Wilder wouldn't take the step aside money, he wanted to fight, that's why he went to arbitration. And then Shelley Finkel says they wasn't offered step aside money. Now with Team Wilder and Team Fury, searching for the truth is a search in futility. Team Wilder, did they decline the step aside money? Was they offered it? Which one is it? Tyson Fury, last year Wilder wanted $20 million step aside. Now he's saying that if he didn't fight Wilder, he could have been sued up to $80 million. Which one is it? He said there's no way he can be blamed for the collapse of the AJ fight, but then his dad followed up what Eddie Hearn said and said they could have terminated the Wilder contract in December. And look, I'm not going to do what a lot of other people do. I'm not going to take John Fury's word for nothing because I want to do some damage control for Anthony Joshua and debunk what Tyson Fury's saying. I don't trust John Fury, Tyson Fury. I don't know. I don't know what to believe from what not to with Fury and Wilder. And listen, I could go on and on about contradictions and conflicting stories with one sentence to the next, but it's no point. And this is why Anthony Joshua must not get in a damage control war with either Wilder or Fury. The hardest debate to win is a debate against a liar, and people are backing up what the liar says even though they know it's lies. Once again, an exercise in futility. You debate people of poor character, the more deeper you dig yourself in, and then it just becomes a question of, are you prepared to roll in the gutter with them when you could be doing something more productive? There's Tyson Fury fans who believe what Tyson Fury said about the 80 million, even though the figures he quoted last year contradict it. And it doesn't matter what empirical evidence you show them, it makes no difference. They're going to believe what they want to believe. You try telling someone who follows Young Pharaoh's channel that Glovegate is a load of bollocks. They're just not going to believe you. They believe Wilder's loss was a white supremacist conspiracy, and there's nothing you can tell them to make them believe otherwise. Nothing. Come on, Fury. You know they offered me more to fight AJ than they're offering to fight you. Oh, so AJ didn't duck you. An offer was made for you to fight for Undisputed. Lou DiBella thought he should have took the deal. Lou DiBella was trying to broker the deal for him and lost his job because he was trying to broker the deal, which either Wilder or Al Heyman or Showtime or Richard Schaefer or Shelley Finkel, one of them motherfuckers or maybe all of them, didn't want him to take. And Lou lost his job. But tell it to a Wilder fan. AJ's the biggest coward ever and Wilder is the bravest heavyweight ever with the best resume ever. Rick Glazer. It's a little hard, Rick, but more than a ring of truth to it probably. He said Thurman wouldn't get nowhere near $4 million to face Crawford. Doesn't have nearly the credibility of Porter in recent years. The loss to Pacquiao and the lack of activity has completely stopped his credibility and momentum he once enjoyed. He was the #1 welterweight at the PBC for a while. Wins over Danny Garcia and Porter. You had to put some respect on his name. But now, he's nearly 2 years inactive. Does he want to get back in the ring? The guy he beat, Sean Porter, Sean's been inactive himself, but they're saying he's got more credibility than Keith to face Crawford. Has Keith really just fallen off like that? Keith turned down the offer to fight on Mayweather's undercard against Errol Spence. Spence was willing to go. He turned it down. Career highest purse and an opportunity to upstage Floyd. Beat the crap out of Errol and said, yo, Floyd, look what I did to your boy. You're next. But he didn't go for it, you know. He didn't go for it. I mean, he and his fan base at the time thought Floyd was using him and abusing him. And let's not forget, he was offered the Crawford fight before Porter, but he asked for $10 million, man. So Keith is one of them guys you've got to hope that he's invested his money. But like a lot of boxers, all they know what to do is box. And if he hasn't been able to make the smart investments like Floyd keeps referring to for boxers, he's going to end up being in his mid-30s, balding, maybe looking a little flabby compared to his prime, trying to come back. They're going to put him in against the top prospect at that time, and he may pull an upset off, you never know, but more than likely he's going to have to take his lumps.